Brainwash yourself into success is the topic for today's episode.
You are listening to the Champion Hustle podcast. Play to succeed in business and in life. Featuring Levi Hunsaker and Ryan Black.
Hello and welcome to the Champion Hustle podcast. This is episode number 21. My name is Ryan Black.
And I'm Levi Hunsaker.
And today we are joined by a very, very special guest. But before we introduce her, we want to give you guys a quick reminder about our 7-day Quick Start Bootcamp. We recently launched that absolutely free 7 full days of quality training, interactive training available for you to get your business up and running or to take your business to the next level. In order to receive that free training, all you got to do is go to our website at championhustle.com and enter in your email and you'll receive access to that full training program. So now, let's talk about the topic for today's episode, brainwashing. That sounds a little bit scary.
So this is a concept that I love. I've heard a few people talk about it, but the brain is a powerful thing, and you have the ability to really write your own future. And so we've brought our good friend ALIE Salazar in here with us today, and we're going to talk about NLP. ALIE is a certified NLP master practitioner. She's also a trainer, and she's working on getting certified as a trainer's trainer. She also has 9 other certifications. She has a degree in psychology and certified in yoga and meditation as well. So all around focuses on mind, body, and health. And we want to dive into the mind today with NLP.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me in today. I'm so excited and honored to be here with you guys today.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, ALIE. This is going to be fun. This is a topic that Levi and I are interested in. To be frank, we don't know a lot about it. We know some, but here we're with the master practitioner.
So I'm an infant in NLP. I did start taking a certified practitioner course. So
there you go.
I'm starting down the path.
Perfect. That's all that matters. You got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
So can you kind of give us a feel, and we probably have listeners out there who are like, NLP, what is this? They've never heard of it. Can you give us kind of a quick overview? What is NLP?
Yeah, absolutely. So NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, right? The neuro aspect, it just kind of ties into everything that all of our senses. So smell, touch, hearing, gustatory, so even that we taste, it ties on all our 5 senses. Linguistic, it's everything else that from words that we speak, the language that we conform with our own words. And in the programming, it's basically more of like the beliefs and the programs that are already running. So everything that we do day-to-day, whether it is business, whether it is exercising or whatever it is, we already have a program installed. So the neuro basically combines all of our sensory with our language and our vocabulary and how we present ourselves and how we see ourselves with everything that's running from those programs. And so I like to call NLP, it's the little manual to your brain, basically. It's a manual to your mindset, because it literally takes you in from understanding how do you behave and how do you take action. So it literally really helps you reprogram the way that you see yourself, talk to yourself, hear yourself, and like all of your senses, right? It really ties into like incorporating pictures, sounds, words, images, visualizing everything into one thing. So like I mentioned, in other words, NLP, it's the manual to your mind, basically.
Cool. So when you're looking at NLP, it sounds like it's not, our focus on this podcast is obviously, champion hustle, play to succeed in business and life, but it sounds like you really can apply the techniques or the philosophy to really anything in life, right?
Absolutely. Not NLP is just for business, it's for all areas of your life. So NLP really teaches the most 6 common areas of your life, right? Which is relationship, health and fitness, spiritual, career, and then as well personal development. So it really ties into all of them, because those are the major 6 lives that we are kind of incorporated with. So if you needed to fix something in your life, let's say your relationships are not flowing and money's not coming in, well, what about relationship that is not it's not happening, that is not letting the wealth coming together. And so it kind of plays into all together because it's an all around system and tools to understand how do you do yourself? How do you understand who you are as a person?
All right, so as it's affecting all areas of your life, one of the areas that we focus here on Champion Hustle is really focusing on personal growth and development and how that benefits you in your business. Mm-hmm. So how would you say that NLP can help you in your business, help our listeners in their businesses?
So one thing that you got to understand is we're all going to take responsibility for the things that we do differently, right? And NLP really teaches you your aspect of how do you take action. I think that's the biggest one when it comes to building a business. There's a lot of like fear of, I don't know what's going to happen, or I don't know what I'm going to do and where am I going to go. NLP really teaches you internally of how do you do the set of programs and beliefs that you run behind you, right? It has to do a lot with like your language and how do you speak to others, and most importantly, how do you speak to yourself. So our brain, right, it's one of the most important mechanisms that we have. So therefore, every time that we are ready to take the action, right, it could be like we settle into a memory that made us like kind of hold back before we take the action. And maybe say that we had an unconscious belief behind us that we're just keep on running that program. And every time that we take action, we just hesitate and we just stop. So what really NLP teaches you, it teaches you to understand where that program is coming from. Where in your mind is that stored at? One of the most important process that our mind does, it generalizes, deletes, and distort all the information that we take in daily. So all that information stays in there. So when we're about to take that action, whatever step that we take, if that information is stored, is going to come back and it's just going to maintain us in the aspect of kind of like fear of, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I take the action? So with NLP really teaches you to reframe your mindset to understand of like, where is this program coming from? Is this my belief, or is this a passed down to me genealogically, or was this belief something that I picked up from my environment, economics, school, friends, family, church, whatever it is, right? Because we're taking all that information daily. We're already storing a program, and we've heard neurons are wired together, fire together. And so when you're about to take that action, you're firing all your brain cells, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, what's going to happen? Where am I? What should I do? And it starts kind of, they're called a strategy. So we all have strategies for certain aspects to do, and it goes into like our business, right? One of the biggest one of like, how do I do the action? And it really teaches you to focus of how to take the next step within you, how to reprogram the beliefs that you had. They're just tools and techniques that really help you to dive in your mindset of what to do next.
So it really sounds like you're going back to the root, right? Mm-hmm. To the root cause or the root moment that caused that belief or that program to run, and then reprogramming it and replacing it with something that serves you a little bit better for your goals, with what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. You talked about taking action, that you're about to take some action and trying to get to the root of what's holding you back. And we all know that in business, action is one of the most important steps. And so really being able to hack your own mind to be able to jump past those obstacles that are preventing you from taking the actions that will allow you to succeed in your business, that's incredible.
Absolutely. One of the things that I recommend to my clients is whenever you're about to take action, always think of the 3 following questions. These questions really kind of trigger your mindset to put you in the right state of mind. Everything that we do kind of incorporates with the state of mind that we're in. And those 3 questions really put you in the right direction of kind of where you're going to be at. If you're going to take the action, right? Like, what's stopping you from not taking the action? What other areas of your life are you stopping from not taking action? So you start thinking more specifically, is like, is it just my business? Or is it my health? Is it my family? Is it my spiritual? You start really thinking more deeply. It's like kind of within process, but a to-do process, basically, where you're looking in your internal representation. And what I mean with that, it's like, what steps are you taking internally that are like stopping you from taking the next action, the next step within you?
Now, what are, kind of leading into that, what are some of the, in your experience, what are some of the maybe issues or obstacles or challenges that people have faced that in your experience that you've seen that they've been able to overcome or work through using, applying NLP?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, because I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it in my business, and I've seen it in the people that I've worked with, and I've seen it in other people's business. The biggest one that I've seen is just being able to utilize our own language to our command, right? Our own language is so powerful. With the words are almost like magical, right? How do we say ourselves stuff that the brain and our minds are going to immediately take it as in like, oh, like I am a powerful person, right? We've heard affirmations, right? That's one of the things. So the reason why affirmations work and don't work, because of the following, right? Our minds are so capable to find the information that we need. So when we go out there searching for what we want and for like the things that we need, some of the tools that we tell our clients, and where we're training another practitioner, is understanding our verbal language. How do we process, right? So when we have a strategy of, let's say you're buying a shirt, right? Well, what does that look like? Are you picturing yourself buying that shirt? Are you like thinking of yourself buying the shirt? Do you have to see someone else buying that shirt? So there's a process, right? And when you go into action to take it for your business, you start thinking of like, how do I do business? How do I understand my point of view of how do I take action for my business? Does that make sense?
It does. And this is something that I had struggled with for a long time, because coming from an engineering background, I loved facts. Like if I couldn't see it, touch it, feel it, taste it, like this whole mind concept of being able to have affirmations turn into reality, that didn't really compute with me.
Right.
But as I have been working through this, I have seen that over and over that through affirmations, I've been able to tell my mind what I want it to do instead of letting somebody else tell me what they want me to do.
Yeah, and the reason, this is important you bring this up, because the reason, this is how it works, right? Our mechanism of how we think and how we process and how we basically do what we do, it works this way, right? You told yourself so many times like, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, or I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart. The mind gets to the point that it's just like, we get it, we know this, and you don't have to repeat it to me every day, right? But if you've never, here's the key point, if you've never felt smart or you've never felt beautiful, the mind is not going to be able to find those feelings, because it goes along with your feelings, and this emotion is an emotional connection that you attach to it, right? So if you've never felt that, the mind is going to be like, why are you telling me that you feel beautiful if we've never had those feelings? We've never achieved that state of mind. This keyword, understand where your state of mind is when you do your affirmations, because you, like I mentioned, if you just sit there repetitively, it's going to get to the point of like, we get it, why are you telling me this? It's like kind of like when you go to work and you have a boss that is like nagging you, it's like, you gotta do this, and you're like, I know how to do that in my job, don't tell me, right? It's the exact same way. The mind already knows. It's just like, why are you repeating me this? Are we not comfortable? Like, are you not confident that I am smart or beautiful? So what it does, right, like the mind goes out and seeks you for all the things that you're looking and thinking of to prove you right. So if you're in a negative state of mind and you're thinking negatively, the mind is just going to go out there and prove you right of the things that you're thinking. So when you frame it to the aspect of, oh, I'm positive and I feel positive, but what does that look like? What does that sound like? What are the emotions that are entitlement to? When you're doing your visualization work, because it's important when you're in business that you visualize what's your business going to look like. You start thinking, well, what does that feel like? What does that sound like? And you got to enhance those details, because the mind does not know whether it's real or whether it's not real, right? It can't tell the difference. Well, what's real and what's not real. So you have to, when you're visualizing, you have to really enhance the smell, the touch, the feeling, the sensation, the emotion, every little thing, like even the taste you have to enhance those emotions and those feelings and everything. So then the mind goes to work and they're like, oh, now I know what that feels like. So when you get a cash of $100,000, what does that feel like? What does it look like? Gotta be detailed to describe to your mind, because you're building those neurons to fire them and immediately go to work. And it's like, I know exactly what that looks like. And you physically are bringing that into that representation in this physical aspect. So trust me, I've done a little research on like I'm the logical aspect, like show me the facts, show me the analytics. So that's why I've really, one thing that I'm very passionate about, it's really diving into like the science behind it. And NLP really taught me that, because I was utilizing all of my emotions and feelings and sensations of like everything, like every part of my cell and every part of my nerve was really actually creating the things that I wanted. And I was like, oh, now I see it, because I'm the same way. I'm like, you're telling me here to say you're gonna do affirmations? how's that possible? So I did the same way. So I just went out and did all of the research that I could, so that I can tell people like, this stuff works. Like, this stuff is not just made up. It's not just for somewhere. Here is the 99% of why this stuff works. And that's one of the things that I kind of dive in the podcast and Mind Paradox, of showing the people the other side of affirmations, manifestation, visualizations, and all of those things, so that we can achieve the things that we want, because we all deserve those things.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are all great points. That oh my goodness, visualization. I can't talk today, folks, so eventually I'll be able to get this out. I speak English real good, guys.
Yeah. I think that needs to be one of your affirmations, Levi.
So I had a thought. Maybe I don't know where I'm going with this anymore. Yeah, I don't know. It's completely gone. So
it's all good. I've got a comment to make. So I've done guided meditation as well as hypnosis, and I thought it was interesting. There's some crossover there with what you were talking about in NLP, where you have you're seeing what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. You're activating all of the senses to create basically a memory that doesn't exist, to create that new association. I don't know. I just think that's interesting. That there's, it's kind of some of the different practices. It sounds like there's a lot of crossover in some of those techniques, and being able to either change habits or empower yourself to do new things, to push your limits beyond what you think you're capable of doing. And I mean, it's all psychology, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's, so I study also hypnosis, and that's one of the things that we also kind of incorporate, is like, it bypasses the critical thinking, right? It bypasses all of the like things that we have in front of our mind, that is just only like, this is only that I can see what I'm capable of understanding, right? So even with hypnosis, is like, hypnosis is also understanding your language, your hypnotic language, to hypnotize your unconscious mind and bypass that critical thinking, so that when you're installing the things that you want, it's immediately there, right? You're talking to your unconscious mind directly. And one thing why NLP and hypnosis go hand in hand is because of the language that you use. Because it's not like, here's the thing. We are so used to focusing on the things that we don't want, right? I don't want to bake pills. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do this. So, but because we're listening to this podcast, and because we have an open mindset, we know that focusing on the things that we want are so important for us, right? So when you combine to where like, I want this, like, let's say I want to make $100,000 in this month at this time in my bank account, right? You reframe the way that you're doing your affirmations, and with the hypnotic language at the state that you're receptive and suggestible, you immediately are installing them, so that now that you're building a new program to behave differently, to take different actions. All of a sudden, you're not longer sitting there watching TV, because you know there's a goal that you need to achieve, and your unconscious mind is like, is this belief really going to support us to achieve the things that we want? And then all of a sudden you start acting differently. You start picking different books. You start hanging out with a different kind of crowd, because it just automatically, your mind is shifting you towards that goal, keeping you closer towards that.
you're preaching to the choir here, because we are constantly hammering on this show about mindset. And our listeners are probably sick of hearing about mindset. But so it's nice for you to come in and
for somebody else to say it.
Yes, for somebody else to back us up on the importance, because that's really what it is.
It's so true. It's so true. One thing that I really tell, like anyone that comes around me, they just know that it's like, you know, what are you feeding your mind? What kind of seeds are you planting? What books are you reading? What videos are you watching? What are you listening? All that little things that you're like installing in your mind have an effect. It's cause and effect, right? If you watch a TV show, it's going to have an effect later on, right? But that's when you take responsibility in your mindset, because our mindsets are so delicate. Whether we are just like hanging out with a certain type of crowd or whatever you're doing, is like the way that we cultivate our mindset from the beginning is the way that it's going to show our results. And so I'm a very huge advocate of telling people, I was like, where is your mindset at? Where's your state of mind? Because that's going to lead on to the next step that you're going to take, right? That's going to lead on to like, who are you going to attract? What kind of business partners do you want to work with, right? And so it really kind of starts with like cultivating the space. If you want to have like that aspect of receiving and achieving and getting more, well, where is that starting at, right? And one way that I think about this too is like, it's like a credit card, right? You max it up. It's your mindset, right? You're maxing it up. And if you want to feed it more, well, you got to clean it up. It's like you're paying it off, right? You max your credit card, you're paying it off. You're maxed out your mindset with whatever junk that you put it in. Now you got to clean it up, right? You got to pay it down so that you can install more of the positive, more of the new nutrients and the new health, so that the next step that you're achieving is just comes to you so easily and effortlessly.
I love it.
All right. So what suggestions do you have for somebody that is like, oh, well, this NLP could benefit me? How can they get started? What is the first step, and the next steps?
That's a great question. You know, there are a couple books that I recommend when it comes to NLP. Now, NLP, you experience it. You really have to take the training for it. It's not just something that I just magically start reading it and then just kind of picked up on, because it's such a delicate way to understand your mindset. You're literally rebuilding patterns that you have. You're building a new set of beliefs, and you're understanding words in a different language, right? And so I highly recommend, if you know anyone that's NLP certified, highly suggest to get certified as well, because that's the best way that you're going to get knowledge, but like it's the best way for you to understand and experience NLP before getting it from who knows where. So before I even became a practitioner, I did 4 years of research on NLP before I decided to become a practitioner. And so it's not like something that I just picked up. It's not just like a phase or like it's something that I just decided to do. I've been researching a lot of like, what's the right way to cultivate my mind? What's the right way to program? So there's certain books out there that really are helpful to understand how NLP works. But I highly suggest people to look into getting the certification, even if you just wanted to have it for like your own knowledge and your own background. I think becoming certified in those aspects really teach you of how to understand your own language, because it's not only just going to benefit you, but it's going to benefit your family. It's going to benefit your work. It's going to benefit your health, every other area of your life, right? Like if let's say a family member was mad at you, right? Then you can understand like, okay, so what about me was it that upset you? Or what about my choices that upset you? You start understanding a different type of language to ask different questions to receive different answers. So it's not just like, well, if you're upset about me, like that's your fault or something like that. It gives you really more of understanding to have a more of like a human connection, not just with yourself, but with those that are around you.
So I shouldn't tell Ryan it's all his fault.
Yeah.
Well, you can continue to do that if you want all day, Levi. Goes out in one ear and right out the other.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned, do you know off the top of your head the names of any of the books, or do you remember? If not, we can add them to the show notes afterwards.
I can send them to you because I don't have them on top of my head. I can send them to you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can add those to
Yeah.
the show notes.
Awesome. We will drop those into the description of the podcast episodes on YouTube and Facebook as well.
Yeah, yeah. And if you want to share, like I am having a course in NLP, so if anybody wanted to, become certified or have more of a course, I can definitely be more than happy to certify them in certifications with NLP. What we do is certified NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. So those are all three combined. You get 3 certifications basically with one training.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, and we will, at the end of the episode, we will give the contact information for ALIE so that you guys can connect with her offline. Because as you can tell, she knows a thing or two about this NLP thing. So I wanted to ask you, ALIE, and I don't know if this even is feasible in this type of environment, but is there some way that we could do some type of I know you mentioned NLP is it's very interactive, but is there a way that we could do a short, I don't know, some type of a mind exercise or something, just to kind of let our listeners experience, even from wherever they are right now, just some type of an exercise, a mental exercise, so that they can kind of experience what that's like?
Yeah, of course. So one of my favorite ones, and I kind of mentioned a little bit ago, and we can do this you can do this at any time. You honestly don't even have to be certified, but this is one that I really kind of teach my clients and people that I work with and people that want to work with me to really dive in of like these 3 questions, right? These 3 questions can be popped up at any time, whether you're about to take action in your business, whether you see something happening with your family or your friends or even in your health. These questions you can do at any time. So if they're like, can you remember a time when you felt uncomfortable, right? Whether it was any sort of type of question. So like, for example, can you remember a time that you felt upset? So ask yourself that question. Can you remember a time when you felt upset? As you go back to that time, we'd like for you to ask yourself 3 of the following questions. When did you decide that? What can you learn from that? And what do you want instead?
Okay. So we've gone back. So I'm going to close my eyes so I can visualize
Okay.
this. So going back, remembering a time that I was upset. And then what were the 3 questions again?
And so when did you decide that?
When did I decide that I was upset? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what can you learn from that?
Okay.
And the learnings, they will allow you to basically see them from a perspective that maybe you have never considered that before. It can be a learning as knowing that, I know that my emotions can be heard. The learnings can be in any way that represent you feeling empowered and you seeing yourself in a positive state, so that those learnings will be there unconsciously and they will be remembered by the unconscious mind when you need them at any point of time.
Okay. And then what was the last question?
What do you want instead?
Okay.
Do you feel different?
I feel a little bit more in control. I do.
That's right, because you're on control.
Yeah.
So,
You've taken that control instead of giving it away.
yeah, giving it away to the emotion. And I'm happy to share. So the first thing that came to my mind was a sale that I failed to make. And so I was thinking about the circumstances and the situations around that process, working with potential customer. The sale did not go through, and just kind of working through that, chalking it up as a learning experience. I know the outcome I wanted to have, and I didn't have, but just just not that big a deal. Next.
Yeah. Yeah. See, you feel more relieved. There's a different type of feeling that you get. And I'm going to throw this for you, Levi, because you're a lot more of the logistic person. This is why this works specifically. When you go back to the time, you're triggering your unconscious mind to find that memory that needs to be resolved in the moment, right? When you go back to that time, your unconscious mind is already looking through your memories and looking inside internally to what needs to be resolved. What program are we running that is stopping us? When you put yourself in the association state to what do you need to learn, you're seeing it from a perspective of, oh, it's a different feeling. It's a different perspective, right? It's almost like you're dissociating from that point of view. And then when you add in what you want instead, you're actually anchoring your unconscious mind with new beliefs. You're firing new neurons to say, oh, I want this instead. So from now on, you're going to run the program of like, I learned what I needed to learn, and now I'm ready to take the action into this is what I want instead. And so this is why a lot of the things that we do in our mindset works, right? Because of we're learning, we're understanding, and now we're deciding what do we want. That's one of the key points, that we don't ask ourselves enough, what do we want? We ask ourselves, what do we need? So when you start reframing your mindset of what do we want, you really start focusing more towards, well, I want this. So your change and behaviors will start to change and be differently. So that's one of the things that it really kind of starts thinking to trigger your mind of how do I talk to myself? How do I see myself? How do I picture myself in all? It's kind of like a circle that incorporates all of it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the logical aspect of this, coming from a background in software engineering, right? Mm-hmm. The concept of programming, I mean, you had me at programming. Mm-hmm. So the ability that we can take our mind, which is one of the most powerful supercomputers in the world, mm-hmm. and we can actually program it and tell it what we want instead of the millions of inputs we receive every single day, that we mm-hmm. actually get to control the narrative that goes on, not just on the surface level, but way underneath for the subconscious, that is the real belief system, the real stories we're telling ourselves every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that the job of the mind that it does, it's basically, it preserves the learning. So if we need them in the future, they will be there. Those learnings are always going to be there. And also too, it's like whenever you have a memory, so because we store memory, right? There's two ways why we store memories. One for protection and one for just because it just preserves the learning. So one of the things that we're basically remembering a memory, or all of a sudden it's like, why am I thinking of this all of a sudden? Is because it's ready to resolve, right? Whether you have a negative experience or whether like that person just bothers me or I had just such a bad experience, if the mind is bringing it up at a certain time of day or whatever it is, it's because it's ready to resolve. That memory, that lesson is being ready to resolve. So therefore, that's why these 3 questions are so powerful, because the minute that you get this memory of like, I feel uncomfortable or I didn't feel like that, which most of the time it triggers when we're about to take an action, then you can tell yourself, oh, okay, I can learn. I can see the learning of which will allow me to let go of all the things easily and effortlessly, right? I can see the learning that it's just, okay, I'm a better, or I'm smart. I do know how to take action. I do know how to cooperate with people. And then you tell yourself like, what do I want instead? You start building a different program differently, because it just psychologically, you're just ready to create that mindset in your mind with a different belief.
Now, ALIE, have you seen the Pixar film Inside Out?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's the $1 million question that everybody's wondering. How accurate is Inside Out? How scientifically accurate is Inside Out to retrieving memories? Or
I would say probably like 99%. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun film, and it's a children's movie, but I think there's some very interesting parallels probably. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. When I saw that movie a long time ago, and after I became a practitioner, Actually, it was when I became a master's practitioner. I saw that again. I saw it with a whole different item, like a different eyesight. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's so knowing what I know and knowing what we know and how our minds and our emotions and our feelings and how everything is interconnected and the program that we're running. It was, to me, it was just like, it's clearly how we are so influenced by everything that is around us. And sometimes it just takes a couple of times to look within and see what is happening inside of us. And I think that's one of the things that, especially now kind of where we are in our society, we have neglected that. We've neglected the fact of taking a step back and looking, what are my beliefs about this, right? About like, here's an important one, like asking yourself, what are my beliefs about running a business? What is my beliefs about starting a business, having a business? Because all of those little programs are going to come back up when you're about to take the action of starting whatever next project you're starting. And it really, it forces you to dive in and to look within, because we're always looking for the external answer. We're always looking for the external motivation, and we're always looking for like what's out there, right? But we have the answers within, and we know those process. We just need that little bit of like help of like, here it is, that this is why it's a to do with process. But there's also why it's like, if there's a responsibility inside of us. Do you want to change? Well, what does that look like? What does that entitle? You can't enforce, you like expect somebody that is right there to give you the change, right? It may happen or may not, but especially now that you're like, you guys are listeners listening to this podcast, that you have the mindset, but also does this like, what are the limiting beliefs that you've been telling yourself? What are those negative emotions that you're storing that are not allowing you to achieve? If you really take the challenge, like, what is that going to look like? What is that life will picture? And so we picture ourselves in the emotions of, we just want what we need. And now that you're kind of creating a new belief and a new system, like, am I ready to take on those beliefs so that I can achieve the things that we want? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love this topic, and we could probably go on for a long time because there's so much more to NLP. I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface today. Mm-hmm. But what we wanted to introduce you guys to is the concept that you have control over your mind. You can actually go in and do that internal work versus looking for external solutions and break down barriers before you get to them, or you can keep hitting barriers and getting stuck and being frustrated. And it takes a lot of deep introspection, a lot of internal work. I've got plenty of it on my own that I'm working through. I chose the route of hitting barriers first and then getting stuck and frustrated, but I'm learning to kind of break that down first before hitting those, because that's a much easier path. So any final thoughts for our listeners before we sign off for today?
I think honestly the biggest one is like, we've all been there. I've been there. I know what it's like to start a business. I know what it's like to take on the risk and just really go out there, and knowing that it gets better. And if not, it's going to get even better. And installing the 100% belief within you that you can achieve all the things that you want easily and effortlessly. And that if you want that, you can have that. And having those desire and like whatever is the work that you're doing, whether it's like visualization or like affirmations or whatever, it can be better and it will get better. Because you guys you've already taken this first step by like listening in and tuning it in, but also like tuning in within to know what do you need next, and being vulnerable with yourself to really understand, like, I'm about to take on a new risk. What do I need to do so that I can achieve those easily and effortlessly? It's literally being like having that self-love and vulnerability for facing your mirrors and knowing that like I can overcome those so effortlessly that anything that I want will just come to me immediately, right? And having that abundant mindset that everybody deserves good things. You deserve good things because we're representing each other. So the better that you do, the better that I will do, and the better that I do, the better that you will do. It's like a mind cluster, right? But really having that aspect of evolution is happening, growth is happening, and sticking with it, to knowing that it gets better. It will and continue to grow as you continue to grow too as well.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today, ALIE.
Of course.
This has been amazing, and we hope our listeners have gotten lots of great content and value, and take this and do something with it. Don't just listen and say, oh, that's nice, but take it, use it, and take action with it. So if you guys want to connect with ALIE, she's got a podcast on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify called Mind Paradox. So go ahead and connect her with her there. And then also on her website, if you want to learn more about what she does and all of the certifications and services that she offers, go to her website at alie.mindparadox.com, and we'll have that in the description below. And next week, well, before we get to next week, remember, jump onto Champion Hustle's website at championhustle.com. Get signed up for your free 7-day quick start boot camp, and we'd love to see you in there and connect with you. And next week, we're going to jump into how do you shorten the time that you get stuck in a setback, the feelings, the negative feelings of a setback. So that's going to be next week. Hope to see you there, and have a great week, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Champion Hustle podcast. For more great content and to join our online community, visit us at championhustle.com.